What's up? This is literally take 4 because I don't typically do this, but I'm filming this vlog today just because I quit my job about 4 days ago on January 17th, 2020. I was working in land development. I wasn't happy, and so I decided, fuck it. Why waste any more time there? Try to learn something new and move myself into a new career path where I can find fulfillment. But basically, yeah, like I wasn't happy with my job. And because I do this photography thing on the side as a hobby, I thought, why not try to delve into that a little deeper and do freelance photography? So that could be like real estate or concerts, or I don't know, like even like I have a project coming up with a buddy. He's opening up a restaurant and he's got me helping out with some marketing content. So I'll be helping him. And I'll tell you guys all about it if I end up posting this vlog. Yeah, other things I want to explore include web design and graphic design. And so maybe I can find my way into like a UX position once I learn HTML and CSS as well as like JavaScript. And I honestly don't even know at this point. The reason I'm filming this today is because say like I post this in 6 months or so, or whatever the time frame is, and I make something for myself and of myself, then I think someone out there could perhaps watch this and share kind of the sentiments that I have right now. And like find some inspiration and also perhaps learn a thing or two if this goes through. But yeah, that's basically it. Again, well, yeah. Hope to see you guys soon. And I guess I'm wishing myself the best of luck, but this is kind of like maybe, I don't really know. Peace. Okay, so that was me just over a year ago. And today I signed a contract extension as a UX UI designer for a small startup. I'm filming this to share how I got from that, maybe, I don't really know, to where I am today as someone starting new on their career in UX. So if you're going through something similar, or you just want to hear someone else's story on how they transitioned into UX, then you should keep on watching. So when I first quit my job, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. But I thought it was a good idea for me to just take an online course on learning HTML and CSS. It was like a basic web development course that I found on Udemy. And I spent a month and a half doing that and playing video games on the side. A friend then reached out to ask me to help him build a website. And he knew that I had no idea how to build a website, but he introduced me to this thing called Webflow, and I found that it really helped let me apply some of the knowledge that I learned through the web development course into a real world practical example. And so I did that for about a month. Following that, I began to focus more on UX design because I liked the design aspect of web development, but it was like the coding that I was not such a fan of. And so naturally, UX and product design was where I turned my attention towards. From there, honestly, all I did was just read case studies that I found online. And a realization that I had while reading these case studies was that it felt like I could do it too. By this point, it had been about 2 months into quarantine, and as someone who enjoys music festivals, there was like this thing going on with live streamed events, and I realized there was no platform to really organize this information. And so I thought to myself, okay, it was something I was interested in, and I used it as an excuse to jump into Figma just to like play around with all the different offerings that the software has. And I think that's what really got me started, is like having an idea and just trying to like almost just having fun with it. And so I created multiple frames for EDM Streams, which is the name of it. And halfway through, I was like, you know what? Let's just turn this into a real case study. Like, let's just gun for it. So with that mindset shift, I decided I needed a more formalized process. And so this involved defining my design problem, coming up with research questions that I could ask potential users, doing research into existing platforms that serve the same or similar purpose so I can understand what solutions are already out there. And then with all that information, I would go back into Figma and start designing my own screens with the end goal of being able to put together a prototype that would be functional. I then wrote up my case study and formatted it on my website with my very advanced HTML and CSS skills. Something that was very valuable to me was the write-up process, because it really makes you have to rationalize everything and every decision that you've made in your design. So I find that as you're creating your case study, you're going to learn a lot about what works and what doesn't work or what makes sense. Was it perfect? Most definitely not. But What mattered was that I got started in Figma and I began creating screens and trying to understand how to make these screens good. And then I circulated it to some peers of mine that were already working in the UX field, just for comments and for feedback. And I found that this was incredibly insightful because these are people that are doing what I want to be doing. And they help kind of bring to light different things that you might not have thought of. And before I knew it, 2 months had passed. Just for context, my plan was originally to have a website completed with 3 case studies done by the end of summer. And by this time, I think it was around June, and I had 1 case study done. So after completing EDM Streams, I identified another kind of idea, and that was in revamping Instagram Shop's shopping platform, or Instagram's shopping platform. I personally thought this was a great project for me to do as my second case study because it would require me to take a look at like an e-commerce platform. Instagram being Instagram, it already has an existing look and feel. And so with that, I figured it would help keep me in check and not let me just design whatever I want. Like I would have to design something that was in brand with their existing design system, right? So I thought that was a very fair limitation to place on myself. And on top of that, at the time I thought being a product designer at Instagram would be super cool. And so I kind of instilled the mindset that I was a product designer working for Facebook or Instagram. So that was just like a fun little thing to keep me motivated. I then assessed the platform also based on my own prior experience with Instagram. And then I developed my own opinion of the platform, came up with research questions that I could use to validate some of my thoughts, as well as to better understand how existing users use the platform. From there, I set out to work around my design problem that I first defined, which was something along the lines of users need a more reliable and streamlined way of connecting with the things they love. That second part is like from Instagram Shop's mission statement. So it was something along those lines. With that, I replicated basically what I did with EDM Streams, and within about a month and a half, 2 months time, I had a prototype that I could actually put into people's hands. And so I got a few friends to see how they would work with it, whether it was functional and usable. By the time I had my Instagram Shop Redesign online and kind of finalized on my website, it was already the end of September. So I had missed my own deadline of coming up with 3 case studies by the end of the summer. I was feeling really anxious and also very impatient. And so I just thought to myself, I can start applying to different jobs that I come across on LinkedIn and whatever networks I find. And if nothing really hits, then I can begin working on a 3rd case study. And so that was my plan, just to give it a test run to see if I could get any bites. And then if not, then I would keep doing what I was doing already, but only it would set back my own personal deadline of finding a job by the end of the year. And so I started applying to jobs that required like 0 to 2 years of working experience. I mean, the ones that require 0 experience, like there's not very many of them. So you kind of just have to pick and choose your fights here, I feel. But I've also been told that it doesn't really matter how many years of experience they're asking for, as long as you apply and you have work to present, then you also have a fighting chance. Regardless, I stuck to the ones that I felt comfortable with, and I waited and waited and waited until I think around mid-November, and that's when I first got an invitation for a call. I personally feel like I lucked out because the startup happens to be in the content creation space, which is a space that I do have some experience in, given my interest in photography and videography. And so that was something I included on my cover letter that I sent in, and they took notice of that. That was one of the reasons that they took an interest in me despite my lack of work experience. I went into that call super candid and openly discussed how much UX knowledge I actually had, how I've come to learn my UX knowledge. Midway through the call, it became very apparent that they weren't fully confident in my ability to deliver good work or to deliver like usable work. So we both agreed on doing a design challenge that consisted of creating user flows based on user stories that they already came up with. And so they gave me a few days to do that, and I delivered. I worked like basically the whole day, both days, just to get that perfect and as refined as possible. And within a few weeks, maybe like a week, I got a call back saying that I had come out as their #1 candidate. And so, yeah, I got a part-time UX contract job with no work experience, but it did take me more or less a year of learning to arrive at this point. So that was early December last year in 2020, and I've been working there since. And it's great. Like, I get to work with product owners, I get to work with developers, and it's really what I imagined it to be. So I at no point regretted my decision to quit my job in early 2020. And I'm kind of starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, I'm very glad that I had the ambition, or like a shitty enough job to push me out the door like that. So I'm really glad I took the plunge and tried to pursue something that would make me happier. And I feel like I am happier because of it. So that is where I'm at right now. It definitely wasn't easy throughout all of it. I mean, mixed in with quarantine, like, mental health has definitely suffered, especially the fact that I'm unemployed during quarantine. And like, there's so much going into it. Like, I'm a 25-year-old dude that lived in Toronto. I went to university, but 3 years out of university, I still haven't moved out of my parents' home. Like, that's this expectation that I set for myself and that I didn't meet. And that kind of sucks, but it's my reality, and I'm just trying my best to take hold of my future. So there's this mindset that I have of, where do I want to be in 2 years' time? And that's what I think about a lot every day. In the shower, that's what I think about. I focus on my goals and try to think about where I want to be a year from now, 2 years from now. And yeah, this channel isn't meant to be about UX and product design and my career all the time. I just want to share my life and document it. If there's someone that's going through a similar thing, well, then here's someone else's story, and I hope you can find some hope or inspiration. So yeah, that's me. I don't know what kind of video I'm going to be making next, but subscribe. I'll be back, especially when quarantine is over and we can all go back to normal life. But until then, thanks for taking the time to watch this far. And also, if there are any questions or anything related to this topic, feel free to drop them in the comments below. I will take a look at that for sure. Yeah, until next time, peace out.